The greatest power you possess is your ability to choose. Join Lowe's Moore as he reveals how you can begin to maximize that power by exploring yourself on the deepest levels and committing to making lasting and positive changes. Get ready to achieve breakthroughs that will lead to accelerated growth and transformation, because you are now tuned in to the Blueprint.
Why the actions contradict the lamb. I'm fellowshipping when I'm with the fam. That's more relations, that's forming a phone.
Good evening and welcome back to the Blueprint. Man, I am excited to be back this evening. It's been a heck of a run over the last, you can see my book back there, over the last couple of months. And I've been having a ball. In the midst of the pandemic, man, I think we all just really, really blessed to be alive and to even see another day, to spend time with our family. I just learned over these last few months, man, that when you wake up in the morning, God bless you and He touches you and wakes you up to get up and enjoy life, starting with your family. Starting with the opportunity to go to work and whatever God has for your experience. I'm just appreciative, and I am truly grateful. But I want to welcome you and thank you. I want to say thank you to everyone who's been supporting the Blueprint over the last couple of months. I think I said it a little bit earlier. I can't say it enough. Thank you. I've enjoyed your company on Sunday evenings, and I look forward to doing this many, many more times. Again, I'm going to drop my seed. This is my seed here. It's a little basketball. I say it every week. Took it from Michael Jordan, my little statue over there. I took it. I had a little visitor the other day, and she went downstairs to see my wife down here in the man cave, and she came back upstairs with the ball. She was trying to steal the seed. She was trying to steal this pebble, and which I drop every week, because Denzel said our lives are like pebbles, and he said specifically to me, your life is like a pebble, and when you drop that pebble in a pond, you get a ripple effect. So we're hoping that the Blueprint this evening gives a ripple effect. Once we start this show, I've been blessed by all the guests and all the pop-on guests, and others have told me that they have been blessed by the Blueprint and the guests. So I'm going to drop this seed because we're expecting a ripple effect. Let me start out by, saying that this week, every week I have a book of the week, and this week's book of the week is about my guest this evening is The Athlete, the Greatest Grace and Unprecedented Life of Charlie Ward. Hey, look it up, get the book, right? And many of you know one of the main reasons, of the podcast is that, a few years I wrote a book from the Boys and Girls Club, right, to the NBA, Life on the Narrow Road, the Lowe's Moore Chronicles. And inside that book, right, I had an obstacle. When I was in the 9th grade, I found out that I wanted to go to college and I wanted to play college basketball, but my counselor was telling me in the 9th grade that I did not qualify to be a college student because I was reading at the 7th grade level. And I asked my counselor what I could do, and then they started a new remedial program, in which I spent 2 years between my freshman and sophomore year learning to read. And so once I realized that it wasn't so much that I couldn't read, right, is that I had a fear of reading. And many, particularly African American young men, many African-American young men have a fear of reading, have a fear of taking tests. And, you know, I used to study and study and study, and then I get right to the test and I couldn't remember anything because I was in the spirit of fear. And once I realized that I could accomplish, that I could be successful as a reader, man, hey, my wife, when we go shopping, we're at the mall or something, and man, she will not let me go into Barnes and Nobles because she knows that I will be in there for a long time because I just love reading. So each week, you know, I have a book of the week. And again, it's Charlie Ward's book, The Athlete, the Greatness, Grace, and Unprecedented Life of Charlie Ward. And we're going to hear from him shortly. And the word of the week, which he knows and I know very well, our word of the week, we have a word of the week every week, right? And it's called, this word's week is faith, right? How important it is to have faith. And I'm sure we're going to deal with that topic as we go along. And many of you know last week we had a great show. We had Hill Harper on from Limitless, CSI, and He's Got Game. He was on last week, and man, it was a very powerful show. And he did something with his son Pierce, who made a guest appearance and kind of stole the show. At 4 years old, Hill has been teaching Pierce affirmations, right? And it was a very powerful thing that Hill, that Hill was teaching his son at 4, right? And, you know, so for that reason, you know, tonight we will introduce Hill and Pierce Harper affirmation moment. And so I think we have an affirmation. I don't know if we have that affirmation up there. Yeah. I was born to lead. That's an affirmation. That's something you say to yourself. You get up in the morning and you're not thinking so good. You're struggling with life, and you get up when you wake up in the morning and you say to yourself over and over and over again, I was born to lead, right? We were all born to lead. And I will show many, many more affirmations in each show. And I think affirmations are very powerful. I mean, I'm even going to give you one of mine. I think I have one of mine, affirmation, and from Bob Proctor has an affirmation. And, you know, sometimes at least once a week, right? I listen to this for about 30 minutes. I just put my earphones on and I say this it says the same thing over and over and over again for 30 minutes. I am so happy and glad. I am so happy and grateful now that I know that my mind is a center of divine operation, and divine operation is always for expansion and fuller expression. And I say that over and over and over and over and over again, because we are spirit, right? We have a physical body, we have a mind, right? But we are spiritual and we are divine. So that's one of my affirmations I gave you this week. And, you know, hopefully you listen to it again and over and over and over again. And go on YouTube, look up Bob Proctor affirmations, and begin to encourage yourself. So without further ado, I want to show you some highlights, and then we're going to get to our guests. If we can show the first highlight, well, we're going to just show one, right? We're going to just show one highlight, the first one, and then we're going to jump in here and we're going to get into our conversation with our guest this evening.
It off into the end zone. Touchdown. Vanover. Short pass to Fryer. Fryer turned the defender around. Went up. He did.
Well, the Hurricanes have everybody covered, and they have pretty good pressure up the middle. But this is the extra dimension. Here they come.
Fryer.
Here they come.
Fourth down. Ward got it to McCorvey, and he's going to score.
He faked the ball to Floyd. Look at him. He's going to get away with it.
Ward takes the snap. Play action. Runs. Looks. Pops out of the pocket. Runs to his left. Throws it downfield. It is caught by Dunn. He's got the burst down to the 40. Down to the 50. Down the sideline to the 40. Down to the 30. He separates. He's to the 20. To the 10. To the 5. Touchdown. Florida State. Warwick Dunn on third down. Unbelievable.
To the elevator. Out of the shotgun, third down and about 10. Ward getting some pressure, getting more, gets it away. He's got Fryer wide open. Touchdown, Florida State. That's what Ward will do to you.
Wow. Well, I want to welcome to the Blueprint Charlie Ward.
How's that, Lowe's?
I'm good, man. I'm good. How you doing, man?
I'm doing well as expected, I guess. Nothing earth-shattering, but still here, and I'm looking forward to catching up with you. I've talked to you, I guess, when I was doing Chalk Talk, but I hadn't talked with you since that time. But I'm glad to be on the Blueprint.
Yeah.
I need to find out how you came up with the name, because I mean it's a great name.
Well, actually, when I wrote my first book, from the Boys and Girls Club to the NBA Life on the Narrow Road, Denzel and his wife Pauletta did the foreword for my book. And you heard me mention earlier about what Denzel said about each life is a pebble.
Right.
Each life is a seed. And Pauletta, when she read the book, she said, man, this is a blueprint that I think that athletes and entertainers and anybody should read, because it's a blueprint. So that's how I came up with the name, the Blueprint, because she said that the book is the seed, right? And Denzel said it was the seed, and she said it was a blueprint. So I named it the Blueprint.
Awesome.
Yeah. And hey, let me tell you something.
So you know Denzel Washington?
What?
Man, you big time.
Well, Denzel and I grew up together.
Yeah, I know.
In the Boys Club. Yeah. So you know that. And what's so real? It's a so real moment was we saw some highlights, and I was trying to pull up some highlights of I just wanted some Charlie Ward highlights, like with the Knicks.
Uh-huh.
And they had, when you scored a bunch of points, you had to watch the whole game to see it. I just wanted Charlie Ward highlights, and you all we need is like a few minutes just to show people your skill set. And but a so real moment for me was sitting there watching, and I had a flashback watching several of your highlights between for college at Florida State University, and watching those highlights, man, and I was thinking to myself, man, like, I watched you play college football, right? And then I watched you play college basketball. And then I watched you, and my wife and I watched you win the Heisman Award, which we will talk about a little bit about later. And then some years later, you get drafted to the Knicks, right? And I'm in a conference. I think it was the African American athletes or something like conference in Atlanta, Georgia, and you were at the conference and I was at the conference, and that was when I seen you, it was so real. You know, I was like, it was like, oh, there go Charlie Ward. I was like, Charlie Ward, he won, you know. And then I was sitting in the room with you, and I was like, man, this is so real, you know. And then we just kind of hung out and having conversations, just talking, developed a relationship. And when I told you I was working at the Boys and Girls Club, you came when you got back. I told you, hey, you ought to come down. We're still playing. You guys ought to come down and play. And you guys came down to the Boys Club. You, Charles Oakley. Who else was there? You, Charles Oakley.
I don't remember who came with me.
Monty Williams, Charles Oakley, and Anthony Mason.
Okay.
That
sounds like a good group.
Yeah, it sounded like a good group, and we played ball, and we've been kind of connected every since then, man. Yeah. So I think the question is, we have some things in common we think that are important to us. Number one, family. Number two, faith, and of course, sports.
Right.
Yeah, and so before I wanted to start out by let's talk a little bit about family, the importance of family to you.
Well, of course, you know, we're all shaped by our experiences, and for me, I was blessed to be able to have, you know, both of my parents in the home. They were, you know, educators, and I had 6 siblings. It was 7 of us total. So I just understood, you know, that was just the way life was. You have a mom and a dad that are together. You have siblings and they're at home. We had one that was out of the house. He was older than us, but he was still our brother. And that was, you know, something that I just grew up knowing, you know, what it meant to share, learning how to share, learning how to support one another, learning how to have your differences, but you still got to go home, and you still got to talk things out. And that's just the way our parents raised us. And then carrying that over, you know, when you're a part of a team, you have the same mindset, because that's all we knew. Whenever you were part of a team, they were like your brothers. And so that was the way we treated one another. We had our disagreements, but we still had to come back and be, you know, brothers, teammates. And we just treated each other that way. So that's, you know, that was my experience growing up. And when I joined the team, that was the same experience. And now that I have a wife and 3 kids, it's the same experience that we're trying, same experience that I'm trying to share or have with my wife, Taja. We've been married for 25 years back in August, and we have 3 kids. But we just want to support one another. We're there for our kids whenever they need it. We want to try to raise them up in an environment, Christian environment, to where they understand and know who Jesus Christ is. Whether they accept him or not, that's not on us. That's on them. But we at least, as you talked about the pebble and the seed, we're at least giving them the opportunity to know who he is, and that's the seed that we've dropped and continue to drop, you know, on a daily basis. We're not perfect by any stretch of imagination, neither were my parents and my wife's parents, but all we knew was love, and that's one of the things that we want to share with our kids, regardless of how things may go. The decision that you make will help, you know, in that process of grooming you or sharing with you, you know, going through the maturation process with you. But when it's all said and done, we're going to love you. 1 Corinthians 13.
Yeah, and that was one of the things when I first started the BluePrint, right? My first 7, 8, 9 shows was about the power of family,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because that was the first thing I wrote about in my book. And the first thing I wrote about was that um, there is function in family and there is dysfunction in family,
Right.
but they're still family,
Right.
and we still love. And I talked about the dysfunction of my family, and I talked about the functioning part of my family. And but it ultimately made me who I was.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second chapter dealt with my obstacles, my challenge with dealing with illiteracy. I'm sure you heard me say that earlier.
Right.
And man, your background with all the books, man, that's really what I try to promote is reading. The importance of reading, the power of reading, and that every home should have a library, right? There should be a family library, and so I met your dad. He was a riot. I mean, when you used to have the basketball camps in, I think it was Erie, Pennsylvania,
Right.
right? And I used to love coming to the camp, specifically, yeah, to hang out with you. But I wanted to see your dad because he was real cool, man. How's he doing?
He's doing well. He's 81 now. Just turned 81 in July, and he's still who he is. He hasn't changed much in that sense, and he's still sharp as a nail, as a tack when it comes to just his wisdom and knowledge. Still remembers people really well. He's still active in Omega Psi Phi. He keeps me up and going in that area as well. But he's having a tough time with this COVID deal. Being able to stay at home, that's his biggest issue. My mom don't have an issue with it, but he does. So, but he's gotten to a point now where he's keeping his distance and wearing his mask wherever he goes, but he's still social. That's just who he is, and that's uh, until the day he dies. He's always going to be social, and that's something that's who he is. And so it was tough for him early on because he had to stay at home, and they got him to a point where he couldn't go anywhere, and it was tough on him. But he was able to persevere through it, and now he's picking up the grandbabies from school and helping my sisters out with the kids, and so he's still Coach Ward Senior.
Yeah,
And I don't think that's gonna ever change.
yeah. He wasn't only just a sports coach, man. Man, he's a life coach.
Yes, he's a teacher. He's an educator. He's a teacher by trade, but he definitely taught a lot of life lessons, even in class. He's a history teacher, and so he used to throw in some scripture, throw in some history from the Bible in class, and so there are a lot of people who learned a lot from him.
Yeah, no. How's your mom?
She's doing well as well, and she doesn't mind staying at home. So she's at home most of the time. She'll go out every now and then, but she's at home most of the time. She definitely is keeping her distance from everyone that she doesn't know really, and but she's doing well.
Yeah. So one of the things we talk about on the show is the importance of being a husband, and so talk about the importance of being a husband, and then about your wife.
Well, the importance of being a husband, that's something that I'm still working on. Probably continue to work on for quite some time. But one of the things I'm learning is just how to be a supporter of what the things that she's desired and wanted to do, and that's something that is ongoing. Just learning how to support her vision. She's done an amazing job of supporting the things that I've been a part of, for so long, and now I'm working to try to you know do the same thing when it comes to that part. Even though I've supported over the years, um, it's a two-way street. You kind of do the things that she say do. You want to have the house, but Tanja is very organized. She's a lawyer by trade. Now she's into marketing and community engagement she's a consultant at a Christian radio station
Oh,
in
nice.
Minneapolis called Praise Live. So if you get a chance, it's contemporary Christian music. She's working with them, and so she's that's what she does. I mean, she's very good at it. The marketing piece, strategies, and those types of things, and then she's 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 that woman that does a lot does a lot. You're like, how do you do all that? But she's very well organized. It definitely helps me out in a lot of ways to stay organized, and she helps the kids out. Like now, we're going through the process with Hope, our daughter. She's getting ready to go to college. And
Wow.
so she's doing her essays and applications, and so Tanja really has her, all from that standpoint. She's been doing a lot of the legwork to help her to get all those things out. And I feel bad because sometimes only thing I know about is just athletics. I know the athletic piece, but I'm still learning this part of it. So, but Hope, yes, she's going to go to college. She's a senior, and I'm not sure where she's going to end up, but she has a good little list. Some she had to apply to, like Florida State and Spelman.
Wow.
Those just two that she had to, because of course I went to Florida State and Tanja went to Spelman, and UM is another one because Tanja went to UM Law School, and so that's another one she had to apply to. But she has a good list. TCU is on there. I think she's applying to Howard, Hampton, and then she has USC. That's Southern Cal.
Yeah.
On there, Syracuse is another big one. So, and hopefully, when it's all said and done, she'll find the right fit for her.
Yeah, definitely. And my mother-in-law, my wife's mom, graduated from Spelman.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I know Spelman very well, and my father-in-law went to Fayetteville State. Yeah, historically black colleges, and yeah, they're very powerful. And yeah, that's cool, man. And so yeah, talk a little bit more about being dad and how important that is to you. And let me say this before you answer that. I was like, man, because I remember your son when he was born.
Caleb.
Yeah, Caleb. He was a little guy.
Yes.
Right, and I think that's the one. I only seen him when he was little. You guys were going, and I looked at a picture, and I was in total shock. I was like, "Whoa, who is that big guy back there?"
Yeah, he's grown. He's grown a little bit. I think he's around 6'2" or so. He plays football. He's a walk-on at Florida State football team, and so he's on the scout team. He's learning what it takes to be a walk-on. They don't get treated well, and so he's learning that part of it. And kind of share with him, there are some success stories when it comes to walk-ons receiving scholarships, but that's not everyone's story. Where they get a scholarship, but it's definitely an earned. It's an earned scholarship if you're a walk-on. That means that you've done all of the necessary things right. Academically, you sound. Each and every day, you're going to practice to put the time in, the work in. You're making your mark. And then sometimes you don't get rewarded for, even that. And so, I mean, a scholarship for all the things that you may do and accomplish, during that time. But, that's okay. You can still be successful and not really, get the scholarship. And there are people who are watching, but it's, the behaviors that you learn through that process that's going to help you long term. And so, yeah, Caleb, he's 20 now. And then we have Joshua. He's the youngest. He's 11, and he's our firecracker now. He's a firecracker now. He's a strong-willed child. So that's been very challenging. But just like we talked about earlier, we have our battles and those types of things, but we still love him. So it really, things we go through, it's just challenge us to grow closer to the Lord because, we find out that, when we start separating or getting away from the vine, so to speak, then it's going to be tough, to grow. And so those thorns keep sticking us, and we keep having to go back to, our source, which is the Word of God, and also being able to have a Christian wife. That definitely helps because she gets us going, and iron sharpening iron in a sense, and that's been very helpful to be able to have a life partner that has the same values and those types of things. So it's been, being dad now, I have my biological kids and of course the kids here at the house. And then I have, the kids that I coach. And so I'm like the village dad for them as well. So, being a dad doesn't stop here at the house. It continues once I go to school to coach the basketball team there. So it's it's fun. It's fun. It's great. Even the challenges, because it just reminds you of how when I look at me being a dad, I just think about how God, treats us, and the many times that I missed the mark in certain areas, He still loves me. And so, just being a dad is very similar in the way that I see life is, I'm not going to always do the right things as a father. The kids aren't going to always do the right things as a kid. My wife is not going to always say the right thing and maybe not apologize, and vice versa. But we all have to continue to love one another and understand the heart behind it. And, humility plays a big part in, relationships that go a long ways because no one wants to be beat down all the time. And so I just think it's very important, as a father to see the way God sees me and try to share that with, everyone that comes in contact with me.
Yeah. Hey, remember, this is the Blueprint, and we are open. This is interactive. So if you put a question up, we just had a question pop up. We'll try to answer to the best of our knowledge. I think the question was from Carmine. Were you drafted by an NFL team?
No, I wasn't drafted by an NFL team. When I went through the process of my professional career after I graduated from college, I made a choice. And it's one thing when I talk to people, I always talk about is, we have to make decisions. And when we make decisions, we have to be willing to live with the results. And so I made a decision that I wasn't going to be 100% committed to the NFL process because I wanted to keep my options open. And so I went through, 95% of the NFL process. However, that 5% that I didn't do was a major part I didn't attend the combine because I was playing basketball. I had a basketball game on the combine day. And I also, just I wasn't prepared to go to the combine. So I chose to skip it. I did on campus pro day. Met with a couple of the teams after that pro day. And when the process of the NBA draft or NFL draft came around, I didn't get drafted. There was some interest in the 5th round by the Kansas City Chiefs, but I told them that I couldn't guarantee them that I would come to camp if I got drafted. But I did leave out something here. I did tell the NFL, I made a statement that if I didn't get drafted in the 1st round, that I would be considering my other options. I'll consider my other options, which, that's just not, a wise thing to do to an NFL team or league. And so that's why I say whenever you make a decision, you have to live with the results. And so, one of my prayers was during that whole process was, God, just open the door, close the door. Whatever that door is, you'll show it to me. And so when the NFL draft came around and I didn't get drafted, God said, I'm closing that door. People were asking me, do you regret, are you going to go and try to be a free agent and, all those types of things. And I was like, no, God just completely closed the door where I didn't have a choice between the two sports. And so once the NFL draft, was over, I went and put 100% of my time in the NBA process. And so it was a long, tedious process, but I was willing to go through it. And I was grateful for Coach Eggman, Kenny Williamson, who's no longer with us.
Yeah.
He was my mentor. He was a coach that helped me. He trained me throughout the whole process, also helped me to, get on with the New York Knicks, I do believe. I know he's my mouthpiece for a lot of teams because I really didn't have an agent through the whole process. And so he was like basically my agent, at the time. He trained me. I'm at Florida State. He was my coach at Florida State. And so I was grateful for him for taking the time. He invested in me, gave me opportunities to be in the coaches all-star game, which I was a football player and I was just getting this opportunity to play in the NABC. That's what it is, NABC all-star game, and ended up being the MVP of the all-star game, which was totally out of my thought process at the beginning. Then I went on a 4-country tour with Nike with Coach Calipari and Todd Bozeman. And then I went on through the two combines, one in Phoenix and the one in Chicago. And then I did an individual tour with the teams that were interested in looking at me more from an individual standpoint. And so, I ended up on draft night, not really understanding, knowing where I was going to go, if I was going to get drafted. But I was grateful when my name was called to be in New York. Just a small tale, how we sometimes through that whole process of me going to New York, I said something when I was leaving New York to come back to Tallahassee from the Heisman. And, I had this picture of New York before I got there. And then once I started to leave and come back home, I said, man, there's no way I would ever be able to live in New York. and God said, well, all right, since you said there's no way, I'm going to give you a way. So he gave me a job in New York, and I was there for almost 10 years. So I was grateful for the experience. Met a lot of great people, of course, Lowe's being one of them, but a lot of great people in New York. And I enjoyed my time while I was there. And I know you guys enjoy New York, but I don't think I'm not going to say that again because he may send me back.
Yeah, and I think here's the question: if you were drafted in the first round, right, and you knew you had an opportunity to play with an NBA team also, and you were drafted in that first round, like you wanted to, would you play football?
Yes. I'm a man of my word. And if I was drafted in the first round of the NFL draft, I would have gone to play in an NFL.
Wow. And, somebody just asked, besides the Knicks, you played with the Knicks, right? What's your favorite NBA team aside from the Knicks?
Well, I ended up in San Antonio and Houston. So those would be my other favorite teams.
Wow. So, San Antonio and Houston. And I didn't know that. I just remember, man, the Knicks. I was like,
Well, I only played 11 years, and 9.5 of those years were in New York. So, the year and a half was really like a blur, probably to many people. But I was grateful because I was a role player, not a superstar, and to be in one place for 9.5 years was a great blessing. And most people in my position don't make it in one spot for very long.
You can ask me.
Yeah, I mean that's because I have a lot of teammates in New York. Over my career, there are a lot of teammates I had that weren't there for very long.
Yeah, here's another question that was asked. Did you think you could make an NBA team, and did you ever, when you were thinking, oh, well, I'm football, basketball, you don't know, did you think that you would make an NBA team and then be there for 10 years?
Well, for me, I'm a competitor. I played at a high level in both sports, so it wasn't like I couldn't do it. It was just a matter of me just giving myself an opportunity or giving the opportunity to showcase my talent. And once I got to the NBA or got an opportunity for play in the NBA, there was no doubt in my mind that I was able to do it. And then I went and watched an NFL game. I went and watched my buddy Ward Dunn playing a game one year, and he was playing against the San Francisco 49ers, and Steve Young was the quarterback. And after watching that game, I knew there was no doubt in my mind that I could play in the NFL. So I was just grateful that I had an opportunity, and someone gave me an opportunity to prove myself. And that's all you can ask for is just an opportunity.
Yeah, and here's the crazy thing. I was watching the highlights, right, and just thinking about you, man, and I was thinking about the today's quarterbacks. Patrick Mahomes, the quarterback, I think is in his second year at Arizona.
Kyler Murray.
Yeah, and you had a couple of pictures with him, and also Russell Wilson, right? And they're not, most of them not big in stature, right? And sometimes, when they look at NFL quarterback, they look at height, big enough, so forth and so on. Can he take this punishment in the NFL? And when I was watching your highlights, man, I was like, man, you're no different than those guys. I mean, they're like a prototype of you. You know, when I seen you in college, man, you were doing exactly what they were doing, just as good, right? You won national championship,
Right.
right? Then won the Heisman. I mean, yeah. So again, it's almost like when I came out for the NBA draft, everybody said, okay, he's 6'1", he's too small playing the NBA. So I wasn't your prototype point guard. Okay, I see what he's doing in college, but I don't think he can do that in the NBA. So they put you in a box, right? And they stereotype you, and you just finished playing against great competition. All 4 years, right? And so why can't you do it at the next level, right? Somewhere down the line, you played some of those guys that are now in NFL. They was in college first, right? And they're making it up there. So why can't you make it? I mean, so yeah, but I think you really, you and other guys kind of, it's sad to say, you broke a mold for somebody else to get an opportunity.
Well, I mean, that's kind of how life is. People ask me all the time, if you were playing today, what would your decision be? I'm sure it would change, because their mentality has changed, which means, you have smaller stature quarterbacks getting opportunities to be first round picks. When I was coming along, that wasn't thought of. First being a black quarterback, and then secondly being short in stature, that just didn't equate to being a first round pick during that time. Third, fourth round, yes, maybe, but not a first round pick, because they didn't really want to take a chance on a smaller quarterback may not make it during that time, when there were a lot of 6'5", 6'4.5", or whatever the case, 225-pound bust, or guys who weren't getting it done. And then again, my situation was kind of fluid, because I wasn't 100% committed to the process, because I got a third or fourth round draft grade. And, if I only had football as, my only sport professionally, then, I would have stuck it out and put 100% in. But that wasn't my case. And that's why I say, when you make a decision in life, you have to live with it, the consequence. And I was willing to live with whatever the consequence was going to be, even if it was not getting drafted, because, I mean, we have to take chances on ourselves. And if you're going to take a chance on yourself, you can't be upset and blame somebody when things don't go, according to your plan. But you have to just live the consequences. And I was willing to do it, and God opened the door. I just believe that God opened the door because he saw my heart to be able to be a senior point guard on our basketball team and not give up that opportunity to lead. And, he just opened the door to be able to have an opportunity to play in the NBA.
Yeah, and my word of the week was faith, right? Word of the week is faith, and some people say faith is risk, right? Yeah, I mean, so you take a risk when you make your choice, but you have faith in the choice that you made. It may be a risk, right? But you have to deal with the choice,
right?
And so take us a little bit through the process, as we come to this 8 o'clock time, and we're gonna have my wife pop on here soon. So take us through, number one, the importance of being a student athlete, the education side of it, high school, and I think in high school you did 3 sports in high school.
It was 3 in 1 year, but the third sport was different in 2 of the years. So I ran track ran track my junior year in high school, and I played baseball my senior year in high school.
And then you basketball and football.
And basketball, football, my other two, yes.
So that's why the book said the athlete.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
That is correct.
Yeah, the athlete. Yeah, 4 sports. You know, they used to do that back in what was it? Back in the day. You know, you talking about Jim Brown, and you know they play all kinds of sports,
Yeah.
man. And you were still doing it. So take us through a little bit about you know, the high school experience and on into the college experience, and talk about it. What an awesome! I don't even know how to express it, because you know I don't know that wasn't one of my dreams to win like the John Wooden Player of the Year award. You know what I'm saying? But the Heisman is as high as you can go. So talk a little bit about the education, the importance of being a student athlete. You know, high school, going on into college, and then winning the Heisman Award, man.
Well, in high school, I was a true athlete. Academically, I did whatever I needed to do to get by, you know, and you know, C's were good as long as I was eligible. I kind of did bare minimum, that kind of deal, and you know, it was just bad habits that you know eventually caught up to me over the course of my high school days, and then I learned once I got to college, you know, I had to buckle down and how to study and do all those necessary things to be able to make, you know, the all ACC academic team. But you know, high school was really a great experience. I was always one of the better athletes on the team. You know, growing up, middle school through high school. The thing that really helped turn me around and become a well-rounded person was I had an injury. I had a knee injury in my ninth grade, during my ninth grade year, actually the last game of my ninth grade varsity season. And at the time, you know, when I was going through the process, they thought it was a tumor, you know, in my knee. And it found out that that wasn't the case. So I was definitely grateful for that. But I had to sit out my freshman, the spring of my freshman year. I was supposed to play baseball, but I couldn't play baseball because I had a knee injury. Ended up having surgery. Was out 4 months. Came back and punted my 10th grade year in football. Went out for basketball the football season. I was going up for a layup, didn't have on knee pads, but I was going up for a layup, came down on my knee, wood floor, ended up shattering the bone that was that they had put back together. You know, they thought it pinned it and thought it knitted and healed, but it didn't. And so it ended up shattering, and I ended up missing the basketball season, my sophomore year. And so I had surgery, and I was out for all of that spring for another 4 months. So it was very challenging. And during that time, that's when I grew spiritually a little bit more. And then I had to, you know, buckle down academically because that's all I had at that time because I couldn't play sports. But it was a very eye-opening experience because I knew at that time that at any moment my sports career could end. And so I needed to make sure that I was doing everything possible to get a degree or make sure my academics was in order. And I ended up getting recruited to play. I got a lot of letters my junior and senior year. I got recruited to play a little bit of basketball, but more football. One of the top quarterbacks coming out of Georgia at the time. And I ended up going to signing to go to Florida State. Well, you know, once we signed, that's cool and that's all great. But we had at that time, even now, you have the entrance exam, the SAT or the ACT.
Mm-hmm.
And I went through the whole process. I started the process late. I didn't get my scores in time to be able to go to Florida State my freshman year, so I had to sit out. I was like 10 points short from the minimum, which was, I think it was 800 or something like that, whatever it was. And so I sat out that year, and my parents, strapped up some change to help me get a tutor. Dr. Gertz, he was a professor at Florida State, and he helped me with that test. And I ended up retaking the test over the course of the year, and I ended up getting the number that I needed to get into school, and I went on in as a freshman the following year. Getting to Florida State, I got recruited to play quarterback. However, they asked me to compete for the punter job, and I had issues with that because I didn't get recruited to be the punter. But I was the punter in high school, so God had prepared me for the opportunity. But me being immature in my thoughts, I was thinking more, I came here to play quarterback. But Coach Bowden told me that I wasn't going to get a chance to play quarterback until my junior year or later, because I had a lot of guys in front of me. And so I ended up winning the punting job. And in my mind, all I heard was, I'm losing a year of eligibility. Losing the eligibility to do something I didn't come to school to do. But once I got over that, my mom, she kind of told me, it is what it is. You won the job, enjoy it. And so, I had a good punting career at Florida State. I did my job, had fun that year. But what I didn't see was God's hand in that mix, because I was supposed to play basketball once I got to Florida State. That was my plan. But God, of course, always has a different plan sometimes than yours. And so I didn't get an opportunity to play basketball my true freshman year. Coach Bowden wanted me to go out and do mat drills, off-season workouts, and get a spring in. He said competing for the job, but I knew that wasn't the case because there's two guys in front of me who were like redshirt sophomores. So they had like 3 more years or so to go. And so I knew that wasn't going to happen. So I go out and do all those things, and I didn't get an opportunity to play basketball that year. And the blessing in that was it allowed me the opportunity to play 4 years the next year, because I got redshirted my second year in school, and Coach Bowden allowed me to go out and play basketball full time, which that's not heard of.
Right.
Football player who was on scholarship, and he allowed me to go out and play basketball full time once we started in October. So once October started and basketball season, was in, full swing, I didn't have to go and report to football or anything the rest of the year. And that was one of my best years. But the best thing about it, now that I look back and I talk about it, was, that was an opportunity for me to make my mark in basketball.
Right.
The thing that derails a lot of two-sport athletes, especially guys who try to play football and basketball in college, is most times the football player comes out late, and he normally sits the bench.
Mm-hmm.
And for that guy, he's thinking, I can do better by working out in football and prepare myself for, my main sport. Well, this year gave me an opportunity to make my mark in basketball. And so I ended up winning, I ended up making the game-winning shot to beat Louisville in the Metro Championship that year.
That's right.
And so from that point on, they understood and knew what I was capable of doing. So when I came out when I came out the next 3 years, they already knew what I was capable of doing. And so when I got there, I was back up the next year, my third year, which was my second year of basketball, I was the backup. And then eventually they allowed me to become the starter. And, that was something that I look back over my career, and that was a great blessing for me, because if I didn't have that year of where I was just solely, focused on basketball, then I would have probably been that guy, that probably wouldn't have seen the value of going out after, football, because I might not have had the opportunity to showcase my talent or be an integral part of the basketball team. And I was just be there playing spare minutes and not, being a guy that had an opportunity to play a lot. And so that was, something I always value now. And I always will value the decision that Coach Bowden allowed me to go and play basketball. And then, just the 2 years that I played, my junior year in football, I started out rough, 13 interceptions in 4 games. It's not a good average. It was eight interceptions in 2 games, the first 2 games. So it was a tough goal. Got booed at home, and it wasn't easy. And I was the first black quarterback in Florida State, and I'm sure I didn't have social media. There was no social media back during that time, but there were a lot of letters that I'm sure came through that I didn't have an opportunity to read. Someone else intercepted some of those nasty letters. But when it was all said and done, I was able to get my feet, on solid ground and start making plays and helping the team. We were winning through that whole process. I think we lost 1 game that year. And so once we got to the end of the year, people started to understand and know, what I was capable of doing as an individual player and how I can help the team win, and those types of things. And went in after the season, I was one of the Heisman, on the Heisman watch or whatever they call it. And then we had a group, the Burning Spear, student-led group that wanted to promote me for the Heisman. And of course, I wasn't for it. So I wasn't going to do anything to help them out. But they were very adamant. My man, Ben Crump, you may know Ben, the name anyway.
Oh, yeah.
Ben Crump was, he was one of the spearhead. He's one of the guys who spearheaded the campaign. And I was like, man, Ben, I don't want to do this. I just don't want to do it. And he's like, all right, just do this one thing for me. Take the picture, and then after that, you have to, worry about it anymore. I just want to go out and play, and you guys can do whatever you need to do. So I did that, and that was the end of my part of, experience with promotion. As far as, outside. I wanted to go out and just be the best player, best teammate, help our team be successful. And we were blessed to be able to, I was blessed to be on the number 1 team coming in. And we lost in week where we played 11 games at that time. We lost our 9th game to Notre Dame. So it was a tough loss, but we ended up losing by 7 points, which was a great experience. And then on the highlight, you probably, you saw where we played against Florida, and I hit Ward down the sideline. That was a big play for us, to be able to seal that victory. And then, after that Florida game is when I went on this tour.
Uh-oh.
Can you hear me? Oh, yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, looks like I can hear you, can't see you.
Oh, okay. Yeah. On the phone, I got a call. But yeah, I went on the tour of the award ceremony. And
can you is there a way to get back on?
Let me
Yeah, see a little thing at the bottom says stop camera or start camera. See, it's at the bottom of it says. Yeah, Charlie, having a little technical difficulty here.
Yeah, I see.
Charlie, you might want to just leave and come back in.
Okay, I'll do that.
Okay. And yeah, while Charlie's gone, while Charlie's gone, let me tell you something. What Charlie achieved with basketball and football is amazing, and to win the Heisman Award is also amazing. Not everybody can win the Heisman, right? Uh-oh. We got a little pop on here.
Is that the missus?
Yeah.
What's up, Patrice?
What's up, Charlie? How you doing?
I'm good.
It's good to see you.
You too. How's everything been? Here, what's your name? The baby.
Oh, I'm Gigi.
I'm Papa.
You Gigi.
Yes, I'm Gigi.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And I love every minute of being Gigi, that's for sure.
That's what Lowe's said. He enjoys being able to love on them and then send them back.
Exactly. Exactly.
Hey, let me tell you something. Being a grandfather is exhausting.
Okay, give me. I don't want to get there right now, but let me know how that is. Why is it exhausting?
Well, let me tell you something. It's the joy of it. Like they drop them off in the morning, about 7 o'clock. I'm still kind of asleep, so it is either he sleep, and so I can continue to sleep, or he's awake, and then when he wake, he's like a ball of fire. So he gets up, he just jumps up and down like and you gotta. He's either wet, as you know, for your children. He's wet, hungry, or sleepy, right? And you got to figure it out. It's like a chess game, and you do that all day till Michelle comes home from she's a principal at an elementary school. So until she comes home or dad comes home from the fire station, and when they get home, I'll be like, okay, throw in the flag, time to go. Okay, bye. See you later.
So I'm not going to be before you. I have a couple of questions. First of all, for Charlie, again, it's good to see you, and I do my best to Tandra because truly, you guys have been a blessing to me. I'm not quite sure if you remember the first time you ever met, but I remember it very clearly. It was a very distinct day. I think I was either coming home from church or I was coming home from work. And I come up the stairs into my apartment, and there's this young guy sitting in my living room with his foot up on the table with ice wrapped around it. And I walked in, and you looked up and said, "Oh, ma'am, I'm so sorry. You were so polite." And I looked at you. I didn't realize who you were. I just realized that you must have been somebody playing basketball with Lowe's. I said, "Were you playing basketball with him?" And you said, "Yeah." And I said, "Did you twist your ankle?" You said yes. I said, "Put your foot back up on that table with the ice." And you did. And it was just when he told me, introduced me to you, I knew exactly who you were because Lowe's and I were watching you the day you won the Heisman. We actually watched that, and we're so proud. And we also watched when you didn't get drafted, and I we were like, how could that be? But I was looking at your Heisman runner-ups. Right, and I guess there was a guy named Shula, a guy named David Palmer, and Marshall Faulk, and Shula was a quarterback. I think David Palmer was a return specialist guy, but we all know who Marshall Faulk was, right? And I think about the fact that you would have probably done better than the other two guys if you had gone into the NFL than Heath Shuler. My question is, nowadays with AAU and with all of the way people are zeroing in on single sports for these kids, kind of causing year-round athletics, it seems like the 2-sport, 3-sport athlete is kind of a thing of the past. However, what are your thoughts about multiple sport athlete? When I came up, I was a multiple sport athlete. I ran track and I played basketball, and at some point I played softball. And I thought that there was something that multiple sport athletes brought to the table. What do you think about that today?
I've kind of gone back and forth on it, and I've heard different experiences. And people like I tell people, I've shared on the program already, is when we make decisions, we have to live with the results, whatever those results are. And I just think, for our kids today, if you're early on in your experience, I think you should be playing multiple sports, meaning because you don't know. You don't know what what sport you're gonna be very good at, and when you try to make a decision that you're gonna put yourself in just one sport, where now you've made a decision that I got to be the best at that sport in order to make the team. And if I don't make that team, then what am I going to do if I want to be an athlete? And so that's one of the reasons why, I've heard and I've seen guys, and I coach boys basketball, and if I got 12 guys on a team, 11 of them play basketball. And and I'm trying to get them to play other sports because I know the value that it brings to be able to play another sport. Once it gives you an opportunity to get your mind off of just one sport, thinking that, man, I'm just going to get better. But in our guys' mind, they feel like I'm behind. I need to continue to get better. And I keep telling them, if you're going to play one sport, you can't have the same game each year. I mean, you got to improve, because if that's all you're going to do, you should be putting in a lot of time. But I do have one kid that is a multi-sport guy. He's the one from a varsity standpoint, and he's being recruited by everybody, football and basketball. He's a 4-star kid. He's getting recruited by all the major schools in both sports. And so, I mean, he's just that type of player. And then there's some guys who aren't playing multiple sports, and they're being recruited as well. But I do believe that it is very beneficial to be able to have a main sport and a complementary sport. If you're going to have if you're going to be a multi-sport athlete. But the thing I also know is someone brought this to my attention, that their son, he plays basketball, and they only have a certain amount of spots on the team. And he's at a 3,000 student school. And so his thought process is, if I don't focus on preparing to be the best that I can be, then I'm not going to make the team. And so that's a challenge, for some people. But I just believe that if you're an athlete and you want to play multiple sports, you should do it. I'm just not a big believer anymore of playing 3 sports, because you really, even if you're very talented, you're not going to get the most out of all the sports. You're going to lag somewhere. But I just know for me, when I was coming along, I just enjoyed being an athlete, and that's what I enjoyed doing. And I was, I played all the sports growing up in the streets with my friends. And then once it became organized, we just went from sport to sport. But now academics is something that we have to take into account. Not saying we didn't back then, but now, it's a little bit more rigorous when it comes to, just being organized and all those types of things. And so, playing 3 sports can definitely put you behind a little bit from an academic standpoint. But most of the times when you're playing 3 sports, academics is the reason why you're still playing, because you're doing what you need to do just so you can play 3 sports.
Well, it's crazy. It's not just 3 sports, but it's if you're gifted in some other area. Like our oldest son, Lowe's the third, Losey, and he was playing sports. I think he was doing tennis and basketball, and then he was acting and he was singing, and so he had choices.
Yeah,
and eventually he chose going to acting and singing.
That's just like Hope. Hope's the same way. Our daughter, she's a violist, a musician, and she's a soccer player. And so that's, and that's the other thing, sometimes you may be multi-talented in other areas that you may not have time to play multiple sports. And so that's another great point for sure.
Yeah. And we're going to have a couple of other popcorn individuals that you may know with Sherelle. You want to come on this side?
Hey, Charlie.
How you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. Is that the baby?
Yeah. This is, you remember Michelle in your basketball camp and Sherelle?
Hey, Charlie.
How you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm good.
Looking good. Like the beard.
Yes, that's called wisdom in the Bible.
Yes.
Yeah. We were talking the other day when I brought him down to your camp in New York City, and I was excited. I think you guys are at Basketball City, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Basketball City, and I used to drop them off in the morning, pick them up in the afternoon, and you were talking about how well they were doing in camp. And got to Friday, I picked them up, man. I saw the game on Friday. They was balling. They was getting down. So, I got in the car. We were driving back. So, you guys are doing it. Your guys are good. You guys are great, man. This is awesome. Yeah, this is but this is hard. We quit. Yeah, I was like, oh man, quit already. But as you know, Michelle's a principal, and she got the little one. He's just a little over 4 months. And Sherelle is coaching at Fairfield University.
Okay.
Yeah, and so yeah, it's interesting when you see I seen your kids and your son looking like he could eat off your head. I was like, and then now you look at there goes Michelle and Sherelle. They would look 9 and 10.
Yeah,
maybe.
They were 9 and 10 years old, and now they grown. Man, time flies.
Yes. So Sherelle, where are you coaching?
At Fairfield University in Connecticut.
Okay. Guess what? One of my players just committed to Fairfield University.
Oh wow.
Yes, Makai Willis. And so he'll be up there hopefully next year.
Okay.
Coach Young.
Yeah. Gotta look out for him.
Again?
So I gotta look out for him then.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I didn't know you were up there, so now I can tell him. I can tell his family. I already, I have a bunch of family, not a bunch, but I have family up there in Connecticut anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And so now I can let him know there's someone else, up there that can look after him. But he's a good kid, still learning a lot, but he should be. He's like 6'8".
6'8". Nice.
6'8".
That's a nice.
Some size.
Yeah, some size.
Yeah, so he's not a bad basketball player. He's still trying to figure it out a little bit, but he's not bad.
Yeah. So there's Dakota right here. What's up, man? What's up? You want to say hi? And you got Amaya.
Where's Amaya?
On the other side of Michelle.
Oh, how old is Amaya?
What's up, man?
Tell him.
Tell him how old you are.
Someone
Seven.
has a birthday.
Yeah. And that's Dakota.
Nice.
You good? You all right? So I got a couple more questions in the last 9 minutes. You, huh?
Do we have questions?
You got a question? Any question? You got a question? You don't have no question? You got a question?
You have no questions.
I got a question.
What question?
Well, not really a question. You played with some great football players at Florida State University and basketball players, right? One specific player, man, I take great pride in talking about is Warren Dunn, right? And, yeah, he's played in the NFL after Florida State University, and he's given, I think, over 100. He's built over 100 and some homes for
single moms.
Huh?
For single moms.
For single moms, yeah. And I mean, I just think that's an awesome task, man. I mean, I've never been so proud when I heard his name the other day. You threw him the pass, he ran down the sideline, made the touchdown, and I thought that was talk a little bit about Warren Dunn. Then you played with Sam, and then made the Knicks. Then you played with Sam Cassell, right? Sam Cassell, and is it Bobby Sewer?
Bobby Sewer.
And
Doug Edwards.
Yeah. You guys had a great team, man.
We did. You know, the three guys that you mentioned, you know, all were first rounders. And then I was the fourth guy who made it as far as basketball is concerned off that team. And Warwick was, you know, his mom got killed his senior year. And so he became our roommate my senior year and his freshman year in college. So we developed a relationship over the years. And I always share the story about, you know, when we go through things in life, it's God's preparing us to be able to help someone else. So that's the reason why we can't give up when we're going through tough times, because God's preparing us to be able to help someone else. And so, you know, I was there to be able to help work through that tough time as his roommate. If nothing else, just being an ear for him to be able to share his heart, his thoughts, and not being judgmental in any form or fashion. But, you know, just being there for him. And he's been able to go on and have a great career in college and then in the pros. His foundation has been able to help a vision of his that he saw to be able to help single moms because that's the way he was raised. So it's just been, you know, a great blessing to be able to see Ward be able to help others after he had, you know, a difficult situation. I can only imagine losing my mom the way he lost his mom and still having to persevere through it. But, you know, he's made the most of it and he's blessed a lot of people from it.
Yeah, I think that I have on one of my many Facebook pages called The Purpose Driven Athlete. You're definitely a purpose driven athlete. You know, LeBron James and Warren Dunn is definitely one, without a doubt, man. So you got a question over here?
Yeah, I wanted to ask if not, you know, NFL, football, NBA, like what would you have done if not a pro career?
I got my degree in therapeutic recreation, which was in some form of recreation. But if I had to guess, now that I look back, when it was all said and done, I would have probably been doing what I am doing today, which is coaching. So you know, I was blessed to be able to, you know, come from that my dad was a coach, and my mom and dad were educators. And so I graduated, out of College of Education. So if I, had to probably look back over the time, I would have eventually probably gotten into coaching. Even though, my career or my education would have probably landed me being an OT, an occupational therapist, or running a athletic complex. And so that was where my education called for. But like I said, I would have probably eventually got into coaching in some form of fashion.
Yeah, and earlier there was a question saying, did you coach with the Houston Rockets, right?
Correct.
Did the question was, did that help you in terms of your preparation for coaching?
Well, that was my first opportunity, and I was grateful for Coach Van Gundy. Just like anyone else, because at the time when I retired, I really didn't understand and know what I wanted to do. But I was grateful for Coach Van Gundy giving me an opportunity to be able to transition, because that's where a lot of guys go astray when they finish their professional careers. They may have something they want to do, but when it's all said and done, you need an opportunity. And I was grateful that Coach Van Gundy gave me an opportunity to see if coaching was what I wanted to do. And I started out as an intern. And when I got the opportunity to be an intern, I enjoyed, the mentoring aspect. I enjoyed watching the film, doing all necessary things to become a coach.
Right.
And once I got into it, it did give me an understanding that's what I wanted to do. And then I wanted to go to the next level, which was I wanted to spend more time with the family. So I needed a flexible coaching career, and that's how I got into high school.
Wow. So I think that.
Is that Lozen?
Yeah, that's Lozy down there.
Hey, Charlie.
How you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm good.
Good. Yeah.
Hey,
So
my battery is about low, but I got like 10% left. But it's good seeing everyone. That's for sure.
Yeah.
It's
been a long time. So in our final 2 minutes, can you say something to some young person out there who may be listening, or some parent that may be listening that would, you think would impact their lives?
I mean, you've said a lot when you talk about the pebble piece, and how the pebble, once it's thrown in the water, has a ripple effect, and that speaks volumes in a lot of our lives, a lot in everyone's life, because we do have a ripple effect when we are around our friends, family, whomever it may be, whether it's positive or negative.
Right.
So, the thing that we're always, one of the things we're always teaching our kids is, be light, not like, but be light.
Be light, yeah.
When it's all said and done, because, the person that we're trying to please is our Heavenly Father. And if God is pleased with what we're doing, everyone else, or the people that will recognize that, will have a heart for God, because they will see the great work that you're doing. And those that want to ridicule you for doing the right things, then they're not walking in the same light. And so I just encourage people to, live a life of light, be light in the midst of darkness. And, whatever decisions you make, count the cost. That's another big thing. Count the cost, whatever decision you're going to make, because you can't sit and blame somebody for the decisions that you made. I see that all the time, and people do it, but they may be making decisions based upon what somebody else wants them to do. And so you can get wisdom, you can get guidance, but when it's all said and done, you got to make a decision. And when you make that decision, you just got to live with the results. Just like I talked about earlier, I made a decision I was going to keep basketball and football as an option professionally. And I had to live with not being drafted in the NFL. And so that was something I was willing to live with. And I didn't blame, anyone for that. So I just think it's very important that, people be light and also, make decisions, count the cost.
Well, Charlie, I want to thank you, man, for coming on, man. Make sure you tell contact. We all said hello.
All right, I will.
And thank you for coming on, man. We appreciate this, man. And we will definitely stay in touch. And so, again, thank you very much. And thank you tonight for your support of Lowe's More in the Blueprint. Be blessed. Have a tremendous and blessed weekend. God bless you all. Make sure you all go out and vote. And I look forward to seeing you next week. On the Blueprint. And next week's guest, Mike Phillips is coming on, the saxophonist, and the only musician that's signed to the Jordan brand will be with us next week on the Blueprint. God bless you and have a wonderful weekend.
We really hope you enjoyed this episode of Lowe's More, the Blueprint podcast. Stay connected and follow us at our website, www.lowesmore.com. That's LOWESMOORE.com. You can also join the discussion on Twitter at Lowe's More and on Facebook at Lowe's More Jr. As always, thank you for pushing your mindset towards a better reality. This concludes the most thought-provoking portion of your day. Don't forget to like and subscribe to this podcast to stay fully up to date with everything we're up to. Until next time, be kind to yourself and each other.
What they teaching is a joke. I ain't buying it like I'm broke. Insufficient funds for insignificant.